that square right there is where we would sit with kids, like on the sidewalk, and we would have Bible study. I mean, because kids come here for hot dogs, you know, it's like $1 hot dog kind of thing. And yeah, that's where it all started. That's where the Lord started to show me what it meant to love on people and advance the gospel.
The Portland area is antagonistic to Christianity. Like, people here are suspicious of Christians, of pastors, of churches, and in some cases, rightfully so. But what has happened over the last 7 years at our church is we have seen hundreds and hundreds of people who don't have faith background, who did not grow up in the church, are getting baptized. I mean, we've baptized so many of our friends, so many of our neighbors, so many people from the city who literally wouldn't have known about Christ otherwise. I think it was about a year ago that you started to sense that God was calling us to start another church for people that were far from God, another church that preaches the word. I at first was like, because we had always wanted to start a new ministry, start a church, something like that. I think we always felt like we were supposed to, and even when we were like 20. And more recently, as that stirring started in you, then you brought it up to me. But I remember literally like waking up one day and realizing, yo, I'm in my 30s. Like, if I'm gonna do what God is calling me to do, like, I think now is the time.
I mean, practically, like, the last year, like, we were pretty much just doing our thing the first half of the year. And in June was when things really started to take off. We talked with our leadership team and just said, we feel super passionate about this and feel like God's like, go, like, this is the time.
I want to reach lost people, and I'm willing to break with traditional ideas of what it means to lead a church so that we will actually be positioned to reach people who never go to church. And so we are planting the Garden Church. That's the name the Lord gave me, I think, a few years ago when I was studying through Isaiah and saw that really the Bible itself is the story of the garden. That we came from the garden where we had the presence of God, but we lost that through sin. Jesus ultimately comes to kind of bring us safely home, back to his presence, back to his purpose. Because we want to be a healthy and thriving church that's centered around the word, the way of Jesus, and witnessing to a lost and dying world. That's kind of the vision that we've been articulating to people. My heart's passion was to make an impact in this generation. And so really I wanted to target where everyone was going, and that is Phoenix. We specifically targeted the farthest reaches of the West Valley in a city called Buckeye, because that is the fastest growing city by percentage out of any city in that area over the last decade, and it's exploding right now. Even when we drive around Buckeye, as far as the eye can see, there are just master plan communities, halfway constructed or fully constructed and waiting for new people to purchase them. There's just new families everywhere. And so there is nothing but growth and expansion happening. And so we targeted this area because we know that God's heart beats for people, and there are a lot of people coming. And so that's really the vision for that. There are totally nights where I'm going, like, are we really gonna do this? Are we really gonna leave everything we know to go reach people for Jesus? Are we really gonna leave this really secure, awesome church we've been part of over the last 7 years and all the relationships we've had?
Yeah, I think it kind of felt a little bit like you hop on a roller coaster and you're like stoked, and then you like buckle up. And then you're like, okay, actually I want to get off maybe for a second, like, and it's like, nope, okay, as of next month you don't have a job, you know, or whatever. Like, we're just uprooting, and
you're like an unemployed person who's got a lot of vision. That's what church planning is.
Yeah. It's crazy because like before, like our first time coming here this year, I think when we landed, I kind of felt emotional because I was like, is this where we're gonna be? And so this time, like we were landing last night, and I was kind of like, this is crazy that this is home now.
Yeah, it's funny because we keep saying this whole idea of like, the garden is the picture of home in the Bible. And so many people are moving to the valley and they're having that same experience where they're like, is this gonna be home?
Yeah.
And what we're coming to say is that like ultimately home is where Jesus is present with you, and where people can encounter God, where people can experience new life in the truest home, which is Him, Jesus.
And so when I think of the garden, I think of a place where lost people can meet Jesus, where it's a safe place to not be okay, where there are hundreds of people coming who would never hear the gospel, who would never like read the Bible, have no church background, but they're meeting Jesus and they're encountering God in His Word, and they're being trained up and discipled, and ultimately even sending out 5 other church plants. So there's this huge dream in our hearts when it comes to the garden.